With a yo-ho-ho, it's Tale of the Toaster. Welcome to another one of these weird little self-indulgent thumbnail review videos that I like to do at the end of a main series. It's always been a bit of a strange idea, but I mean, how could I break tradition now if I've been setting them up for however long? Basically, when I finish a main Let's Play of an Inazuma game, I like to kind of look through all the thumbnails that I made along the way just to remind myself of everything that happened along the series and reveal any little insights about the thumbnails themselves where it's worth saying. That's why I'm kind of skimming through the level 99 ones for now, because apart from here where I had a choice of two, there's nothing in particular to say about them. But yeah, it's just a fun trip down memory lane over the course of an hour or however long it takes, to remind myself of what was going on throughout the year or so of production that Chrono Stones took. Night Vipers is another one where I had a choice. Went with that one in the end to be more clearly Inferno Fist. But part one, I've done like 2 house moves since I made this one. It's kind of insane. I was never really that happy with this one, because obviously the most important thumbnail you'll ever make is the first one in a series, and this logo, like Chrono Stones and Thunderflash and Wildfire, they're such long titles that you can never really accommodate them into a thumbnail, even if they took up the full screen. You've got no hope of people being able to read them, and there is no merged thumbnail for either of them. So obviously I just used Thunderflash because that's the game I was playing. But even then it was really hard to accommodate. And then what more can you say about the cutscenes of part one? You don't want to make it all villainous and about Protocol Omega. I wanted it to be Aryan themed, but I literally just had to crop him out of one of the 2 thumbnail cutscenes he was in with an actual good vibe to them, and yeah, just put him on the beach. So I was never too keen on it, especially because the next one was also on a beach, this time Faerun just directly from a cutscene. This was the original one to show off all of his team, but it just didn't look good at low sizes, and I thought, we've never had Fae in a thumbnail before, so let's just have Fae and go with that one. Then part 3, I'm finally allowing Protocol Omega to come into it. You don't want them to be the very first one. I could just stuck Dinosaur Fae on there, either because I needed to fill space or because I was just proud of myself for finding the artwork at all. But yeah, this series needed more alpha. You wouldn't be able to tell that there was anything done editing wise on this one. That's just caught me off guard right now. But yeah, that's the cutscene of Aryan looking at old Ryman Junior High. I actually went to the bother of cropping out Mark from another cutscene and just shoved him down here to put the 2 in the same thing. Not noticeable at all, but oh well, I'm glad I did it just for this video, if anything. And then a more noticeable cropped Mark Evans doing Margin the Great. Not Margin the Hand, it's just Margin the Great. It's a different move for some reason. Chapter 6 was a very interesting one, actually, because obviously you can tell from the low resolution of stuff like this, when you take a cutscene directly from the 3DS game, it's not going to be very high quality, and you're only going to get HD when you actually take the footage from an official trailer that was uploaded to YouTube and happens to contain HD cutscenes. This is a weird one where the cutscene was never actually showed in high definition in the trailer or anything, just Victor looking sad. But there was like a trailer for the Japanese game months before it ever released anywhere, where the cutscenes hadn't actually been finalized. And so if you compare the cutscene from that trailer to the cutscene in the actual game, it looks completely different. And I can't remember now whether I actually used the one from the beta trailer or from the actual game itself, but judging by the quality, I probably used the old version. So maybe have a look through some trailers yourself, see how they compare, and then obviously back to normal here. That's just a little bit of another cutscene. Massive alpha. Again, one of my favourite characters. I was keen to have him wherever we could, but there are a lot of matches with Protocol Omega in this game. They couldn't be the central focus of the thumbnail every time, so we focused it on Vladimir. That episode was like 36 minutes long because for some reason I thought that would be a good time to go back to old Ryman. I definitely picked the wrong episode for that one. Dr. Cryptic, this was like one of the lowest viewed episodes of the series because when you've got a guy like Dr. Cryptix in the thumbnail, yeah, who cares? Then when you put Beta in a thumbnail, complete opposite effect. It is to the surprise of nobody that anime girls in the thumbnail have a direct correlation with views going up. See, it's not something I try to exploit. Beta is in the thumbnail with her team because the episode is about her. Like, I couldn't have asked for anything more appropriate. It's Beta with a couple members of her team celebrating. Then the tradition. The only thing in the entire series that broke the format for the whole series, you had to have a part 11. And this was quite a well-timed one, actually, because this was the episode where I just went roaming around town and nothing of particular interest happened. Like, this background, just a panning shot of Ryman Junior High itself, that was like the only cut scene, so quote unquote, in the whole episode, just zooming into the school so that Arian could walk into it. So yep, we had to have the part 11 go Chrono Stone's Thunder Flash. And then back to 12. Oh, it looks good at low res, right? It doesn't look good when it's zoomed in. And you can see how Mike from Protocol Omega has been auto-cropped out of a very low res bit of artwork. But yeah, that's one for the small screens only. This one was a bit of a spoiler, and I was in two minds about whether to do it, because this was the only actual cutscene in the episode, and if I haven't said so yet, but all four of the previous Let's Plays I was quite willing to pull from the anime to make my thumbnails, but I've never really liked doing that. I always just did it out of necessity, because Inazuma games very rarely had cutscenes. The DS game, it was either sprites or an anime cutscene. Go 1 was when they started using 3D character models that looked better for thumbnails, but they still didn't do it enough at that point. Chrono Stones actually has loads. Pretty much every single episode at some point had a bit of a 3D scene with the character models. But for this one, the only one it had was Arian mixing-maxing with Tezcat in like the final 5 minutes of the episode, so I didn't really want to do it, but I guess, it's a spoiler for people who hadn't seen it, but for the majority of my audience who know exactly what happens in Inazuma games, that's a bit of an eye-catchy one, so I went with it in the end. And then for 14, it's the match against the football bots. What more do you want from me? Part 15, this was like the face of my channel for a couple of months, because I had to go on hiatus for stuff like going to the Netherlands for commentating Syndicate and my little fan meetups that I did out there. They could have so many more people now if I actually did those in the modern day. Went back to the Netherlands in 2021 after lockdown's all over. We'll have to see if I have a good excuse, but yeah, we got Steve in the thumbnail for like a solid 3 months, along with Armified Griffin. And then this was a big community post to kind of tease the comeback of Tale of the Toaster, but it was still weeks away. And I really wasn't happy about having to take a hiatus so soon into the series, but it was completely unavoidable, sadly. And then once again, we got a nice 3D scene of Beta with a couple members of her team, so emphasis on the captain, but shows the team as well, so I was happy with that. This episode was like 11 minutes long, finally explaining what the Chrono Stones were. So the thumbnail was literally just going to be a Chrono Stone. There you go, there's your explanation. Oh, Katsu. Even in a thumbnail review, I'm still happy to see Katsu. She's in there twice, so double the Katsu, double the fun. And then this is a really good example of how I was actually digging through the trailers to get HD. I will have originally released the video with this cutscene just from raw 3DS quality before I realised you could actually go into Nintendo's official trailer for the game and see, oh well, Kinoshita is here in 4K. 4K didn't really exist back then, but yeah, that's a massive glow up for large style screens. And then glow back down again for the white deer. At least I got the full gang involved. After 21 episodes straight of relatively serious, just in-game stuff, I needed to have some funny ones in there at some point, so I don't know how many people could even see the text in the top right, but there you go. I didn't want to spoil Ricardo's Mixi-Max with Nobunaga. In fact, it isn't even there at this point. This was a cutscene where they failed to do it. So delete this. I won't. I'm going to keep it forever. In 23, I didn't know whether to have a third Beta thumbnail for a third match against her team, or whether I should focus a bit more on Nobunaga, who would be getting Mixi-Max. Eventually went for the mix of both in a way that would show off the nice locations as well. And then this is another example like Dr. Cryptic's, where if you put a character as minor as Argos in the thumbnail, people do not care. Again, this was a very short episode, so I didn't have much to work with, and I like Argos because he's named after a good UK shop. Not on purpose, but that's what I like to think, and it's anything to do with Protocol Omega makes me happy, so I wanted to give him a thumbnail, and he got one and no one cared. And then it keeps happening like this. We follow up the insignificant character with one of the most popular girls in the entire Inazuma series. This time it was Goldie's debut. Tiny bit of crop in play to make her overlap the stuff on the left, and yeah, this one got like 2,000 views in a day, and I'm like, oh well, cheers guys. But again, you know, this is Goldie's first episode, only 25 episodes in. I mean, all the way that you'd think she was in it earlier. But yeah, so that was absolutely the best thing that we could have done. And then Zanuck as well. This is the point in the series where we really start introducing the characters that are going to be relevant for the rest of the game. You sometimes forget in hindsight just how late Goldie and Zanuck actually appear. But again, thank you Nintendo's trailer for that HD on that one. Joan of Arc, so that's another new character introduction. And then JP just dies. As you know, I'm not the biggest fan of JP, so when he failed the wine-carrying, yes, wine-carrying minigame in the training menu, as soon as I paused on this snapshot, I knew it had to be the thumbnail. This, to me, is hilarious. It's not what it looks like, I promise. And then Gabby just hasn't been in a thumbnail for his entire chapter, because I have too many new characters to introduce. That was the one that I felt kind of bad about. And even then, when he does get into it, there were no cutscenes to work with in this episode, so I just had to try my best using 3D character models, and it didn't look too great, but at least he's finally in one, because he's not going to be in the match either, because Gamma also hasn't been in a thumbnail. Just think how many people I had to introduce here. And Zanuck's just in it again, I suppose. And yet, so we have just as many Gabby thumbnails as we have Prince Charles thumbnails. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This man will be in one at every available opportunity. I had two choices here. I could have just gone for the vanilla serious one that 99% of YouTubers would use, just the actual cutscene of Bylong in the game, or I could just meme it up to all heck and show my thorough entertainment that he was here. And yes, I went with this one in the end, as you can tell. Liu Bei, thank you trailer. The football bots, but again this time it's the clay versions, so just use their official art and their logo, that's fine. Chuga Liang was never in an official trailer, or at least not this scene of her, so that had to be 3DS low resolution sadly, but still looks pretty enough at the recommended size. This one's my favourite. The amount going on in this is insane. Being a big Bylong stan, I wanted to give him everything that I possibly could. This image of Bylong just before he's about to get intercepted by his new fighting spirit, Sika, I've been using that as a reaction image ever since. It is an emote that I will regularly use on Discord, and sometimes even just upload it places entirely on its own. Bylong Shock is one of my favourite images on my entire computer, but it wouldn't be good enough by itself because this is the actual match against Zanuck's domain. So we had Zanuck here, mixing matched with So-So, that's cropped out. The entire background is a full scene of Chuga Liang exposing her fighting spirit. There's Bylong's surprise to it. And then we'll just chuck in JP getting humiliated as a goalie again, because that was something that happened in this episode. And it's just such an explosion of colours thanks to the dragon. Yeah, this is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best thumbnails I'll ever produce. And then this is one of the worst. Well, I tried my best. This is another episode where there was nothing to work with. You just walk to the hospital to see Willy Glass, and we're not going to have a Willy Glass thumbnail. Samurai 11 Z is a really funny image in game, but it was not big enough to use as a thumbnail. But I at least tried to alter the logo so that I was playing Samurai 11 Go Chrono Stone's Thunder Flash. So it just about gets a pass. And then seemingly quite low resolution Ryoma Sakamoto, relatively low res, or maybe it's just the brightness on Okita Soji. Yeah, and then he appears again. Zanuck in the back. Is that from the anime? Like, it looks like it is. But I know I wouldn't have broken my code of honor 40 episodes in and finally used the anime. That must have been cropped out of a cutscene. I mean, yeah, the fact that barely any of him, like, that will have come from a screen where it will have been a close-up of his face, and the only way I could even make it work was to hide him behind something else and shove him in a corner. But I did, along with Okita bringing out his blade. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I passed the test for using no anime at all in any of these thumbs, but that's the one that's just raised my eyebrow a bit. And then Ryoma plus Ryoma equals, I didn't matter too much about spoiling things here because this was the second part of the match and this happened in the first 3 minutes. It's not like I spoiled Victor's Miximax. Example number 3, using an insignificant character doesn't work. But that was the only anime cutscene in the episode, and again, I really like this guy, so I wanted him to have one, even if it caused the views to tank. So here he is. And then Saw, no one likes him, but he literally didn't have a choice. He had to be in one at some point. I say no one likes him. Obviously, some people like him. Shadow AK's probably written his comment already at the time of having said that on video. But yes, this was his entire chapter. Of course, he's going to be in it, and at least it's in HD. Unlike his dad. I like his dad more than Saw. He doesn't even have any lines, but there's a screaming dinosaur for everyone's entertainment. There's a not-so-screaming dinosaur for everyone's entertainment. And another screaming dinosaur for everyone's entertainment. With Goldie again. No particular scenes to pull from, but that is a one-off expression from Goldie that she never does again, so had to use it, definitely. And then this one I really tried to go all out with. Didn't necessarily have the same impact as Bylong and Sika, but we've got RX getting cropped there, we've got his fighting spirits separately being cropped by remove.bg, we've got this guy again getting cropped by remove.bg, we've got Spike the dinosaur, we've got Big the dinosaur who's trying to eat the number part 47, we've got the background of the pitch itself. There's probably even more going on with this one than there was with the Xanax Domain match, but it's just a collection of characters no one really cares about apart from me. Okay, I just went full on spoiler with this one. Here's both of the Miximaxes from the episode. I think I did this one pretty much because Saw was directly centre of the screen, then I've got the stuff on the left that's necessary, so the right just felt blank, so have Faye, I guess. King Arthur, nice and trailer high definition, nice and low definition Ricardo in the cutscene of the Knights of the Round Table. He was the opponent for that episode, so he had to be the one. We've got, I keep wanting to call it Master Dragon. That's one of the Japanese names that trips me up the most, because who wants to naturally say Queen of Dragons when something like Master Dragon exists? Because they barely even say Queen of Dragons in the game anyway, but Master Dragon in the anime, they say that all the time. We've got full-on hyperdrive mode. That's probably another Japanese name right there, but yeah, like this one, it's got RX and his teammates with a bit of action effect. Another crop job on Goldie Miximaxed with, this time, the relieved version of Master Dragon. There you go again. Obliteration. You can actually see just about along the bottom, the little remnants of the word obliteration are just about sneaking into frame there. Oh dear, that's a bit of an error. These two got a second chance at a thumbnail because this one was really hard to accurately make a thumb for without spoiling everything, so I tried to just show the location of where they were. The first 15 minutes of this episode is just Jude, Axel and these two talking in a dark room explaining what's happening in the future. The cutscene is only right at the end, so I had to pick something non-spoilery, so that's what we got. Whereas for you know, after Simeon and his evil plan has been announced, yes, we can go to town doing whatever we want with that. In fact, that is possibly the only example where the thumbnail is not actually the contents of part 55. That's from the same cutscene as this episode, but this ep didn't have any. I was mainly just exploring Centrado, so, you know, now that Simeon has been introduced, it would be a waste not to use it. And then 56, we're already into the matches themselves. So this episode was split in two, as I did with quite a lot of matches in this stage of the game. So part 1 was meant to show the El Dorado team with Faye and Victor on it, while the introductory cutscene to the tournament is playing in the back. And then for the second half is when I used Team Zan themselves. Now, it would make more sense to do this the other way around, like introduce Zan first and then the team members, but the problem is Faye is part of the team for part 56. He is not part of the team for part 57. The cliffhanger I used to end the episode was him storming off. Really, I wanted to have both facing each other in this one thumbnail, but there just wasn't the room, and you couldn't flip this around. Like this guy with his hair and whatnot, you would know if it's been flipped if it had been put the other way around. So this is one where I had to go against my own rules, put the essential stuff on the right hand side, and I had that as the second of the two. Is that what I went? Oh right, no, that is the thumbnail I went with. But for part 58, I made two. I asked my friends, what should I do for the thumbnail? Waifu bait or my favourite Hisatsu from the series. I don't know why it was even a question. Like, well, I know why it was a question, because my concern here was by using No Future, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but mainly just you don't get to see the characters' faces. I haven't properly introduced them. So the other option was to use Cupid's Arrow, Heart's Desire, and have just her as a thumbnail. It was possible, it looks good enough, but yeah, you can't really contend with No Future, the best shooting move that Inazuma would ever make, until a certain radiation storm. It's become canon on my channel now. Now here we go, Mecha Mark the boy. And I was so excited to release this one because at the time of recording this episode, Mecha Mark was actually still believed to be unavailable. The passwords to recruit him hadn't been discovered at this point in time. I even ended the episode off in part 60 by saying, yep, Mecha Mark is completely unavailable. You will never be able to have him. Sorry. And in between the time of recording the episode and editing it, that was when we found the passwords. And so I'm like, right, well, suddenly we need an extremely Mecha Mark based thumbnail. I need to cut out that bit that I said at the end, and I need to get working on a passwords video straight away. And let's see, at the time I was probably up to here in releasing. I'm like, okay, we need to be really quick. I need to launch 55, 56, 57, 58 and 59 and 60 like as soon as I can, so I can reveal the passwords in the latest upload. And that's when this fits in about here. It's obviously not going to be there in my files that are just going in alphabetical order. Faye's dad gets a thumbnail, I guess. And then the finale, the first premiere I did on YouTube since episode 1 and 2. And that is what really cemented to me just how much the channel had grown throughout doing the Let's Play. Like, I did YouTube premieres for part 1 and for part 2, and I got about 60-70 people watching, and we all had a really good time. The live chat is still available for people. If anyone wants to watch part 1 and part 2 again, you can just turn live chat back on and see what myself and other people were saying at the time. Call it a director's commentary, if you will. But then I never did a premiere again until literally like a year later, when I'm ready to upload the finale against Ragnar. At this point I was very much a serial split videos in two. I always tried to keep my videos around 20 minutes, failing to kind of see how much my YouTube viewers really wanted longer videos and how much the algorithm also prefers longer videos. I thought, right, there is no good way to split up the story finale. You want the finale to be a finale. I thought, let's upload the full hour's worth all in one go, and I'll do it as a premiere, and I must have had about 200 people watching live and talking all the way through the full hour. That's some of the most fun I have ever had on YouTube. But it's a contender for the #1 moment, actually. I adored enjoying that finale with you all. I could genuinely watch the whole thing back, read the live chat again, and just relive how much I enjoyed releasing that finale to you all. Can't believe it was like 8 months ago already. Such is the way, I wish I could be on Go Galaxy right now. But we're still working on that game. I promise it'll be on the channel as soon as I can. To comment on the thumbnail itself, it's alright. This is the image that everyone uses. Now that I'm getting to know Inatubers from other countries like Italy, you see this kind of thumbnail all the time. And the actual text Ragnar from the game, it looks fine in the thumbnail. It does not look good scaled up like this, but the thumbnail's fine, but the experience of watching it with you all, I loved it, and it opened my eyes to premieres. And that's why I did it again for the iceberg, and I'm certainly working on another video of similar size, which will be premiered again. So I look forward to that. I'll release details at a later time. Don't know when it's going to be finished. And then we go into the post games. So here's Arian Mixy Max with Victor, and Great Blaster is the background, I guess. One of many opportunities to use the Arian and Mark Evans one. That could have been in the level 99 thumbnails as well a lot. In fact, that's why I used God Hand instead of Mark for the FF Ryman one, because he already looked like this. These are going in a bit of a weird order, like Competition Routes was the season finale, but alphabetically it's here, I suppose. Then we've got the credits. Okay, we've got Wildfire in the thumbnail too. Switching between sizes, there's Soul, so he doesn't get the hearts and the emojis, because this is not a subscriber specific video like the Bylong one was. Gold and silver chests, okay, that's just, it is what it is. Parallel, I had another choice for Parallel Sun. That does not look good blown up at all, but I guess it's fine at thumbnail size. There wasn't much you could do with that one. Here we got poor old Dvalin getting covered up, as he always seems to do. He's the least important of the three in the original trilogy, and that remains true. This is my way of getting Jordan in the thumbnail, at least, along with Zine. More parallel stones. There's the password, so that's essentially part 63.5 with when it released, and that was a long few weeks for me to wait. I wish I could have got that one out immediately, but I couldn't exactly just spoil Mecha Mark before he'd even appeared in my Let's Play. So yeah, I was a little bit late to the party, but it's helped a lot of people in the long run, thankfully. Inazuma Legend National, this was such a weird one for me, because I don't know why, but the YouTube algorithm went mad with this one. It got 6,000 views in one day. Most episodes of the series don't even have that much now. And some of them have been up for 8 months to a year and a half. I don't know why this one did so well. I guess people were just really excited for it, all banded in to watch it at once, because I'd been keeping people waiting quite a while for the post-game story, and something just banded together, and this did explosively well. And I'm happy enough with the thumbnail as well, so thank you for that, everybody. Then we've got the Patchwork Meadows. This is lucky to be an episode in its own right at all, but I'm glad I did it that way in the end, instead of having a extremely long video against the Desperados. I think the LBX in the background are actually cropped from Danbol Senki Woo rather than coming from Inazuma 11. So I guess that's breaking the rules technically, but at least it's not from an anime. And then there's the Desperados, your supermassive shot, your Chaos Meteor, whatever you want to call it. The Wildfire thumbnail is in here purely A, to fill space, and B, because I've just been doing it for this one. When you're doing the main series, all you need is a number in the bottom left, whereas when you're doing the actual post-game stuff, you need to fully spell out what it is you're doing. This is Inazuma Legend Japan, this is the Patchwork Meadows, this is the Desperados. So as the title text got wider, the logos had to follow suit, I guess. So there's your little flora crammed into the top right side. I had two choices for NOSFANATICA. I made this one, and it took a lot of effort, because that's 3 levels of cropping there. We've got the background of the stadium, then we've got Desmodus himself doing his fighting spirits move, Demon Bolt, and then what I tried to do was have his Miximax form as like a reflection, you know, vampires in the mirror, that kind of thing. There was a lot of thought that went into it, but it just didn't look good in the end, especially like I tried a transparency effect on the Miximax form, but when you scale it down to thumbnail size, like, yeah, let's just make it a bit smaller here. Actually, no, that's just making it bigger. Yeah, never mind, but it just didn't work, so I swapped it for just his normal Miximax form doing Heaven's Time. Meanwhile, Atomic Flare gets to be in a thumbnail for like, there were so many opportunities. I wish I didn't do this one in hindsight, because when I had Torch in the level 99 routes, there was nothing else his thumbnail could have been, whereas this had plenty of options. Wish he did a werewolf howl for me, that would have been perfect, but he just didn't. Children of the Night, I again had 2 options, and I'm kind of regretting the one I went with, to be honest. That's the one that's on YouTube, Children of the Night. So text in the bottom left, both the logos and the 2 players cropped onto the field. So that's everything that was essential. It was text, logos and characters, but in a way that didn't really fit the vibe. Like, these are vampires and werewolves. It's supposed to be scary and dark, but they're just on a normal football pitch. And the wolf is just kind of shoved into the background where you wouldn't notice it. And definitely this video got way less views than I was expecting. You know, Inazuma 3, the match against Team Ogre Redux, that's got loads of views. The match against Zero from Go 1, again, that did really well. Children of the Night is supposed to be that video, the match in Inazuma where you never get to play it unless you own both games or have a friend with the game that you don't own. So many people don't see this in their own game, so this usually does really, really well, but I think I have to blame this on a pretty bad thumbnail, because it definitely didn't have that effect here. And then, so that was the one I tried first. I wanted to show Nocturne, and this, you know, it looks alright, but it's also completely breaking the rules. Like, having 2 logos is, yeah, there was no good place to put them. Maybe, I think what I should have done was just have a single thumbnail with no logo at all. Like, just say this guy is Thunderflash, this guy is Wildfire, that's all the representation you need. We've got Nocturne in the middle, the text in the middle. Yeah, you can also see the special move name in the back, but you wouldn't know that unless it was this zoomed in. Yeah, I wish I just edited this one a little further and went with that in the end, but it is what it is. Can't change time unless you are a character within this game. That's the bonus video. So if I go back a few steps, yeah, that was meant to be my thumbnail for NOSFANATICA, and then this, the one with LOL, that was a separately made thumbnail for the bonus video, the one where I actually lose to NOSFANATICA and had to cut it out of the main series. So in the end, when I needed to remake the actual NOSFANATICA thumbnail, I just borrowed it from this, because realistically no one's ever going to see the thumbnail for the bonus unlisted video. Even if they did watch it, they'd have to see it in their own watch history. So yeah, that is a thumbnail that you may not have seen in this whole series. There we've got Recruiting Alias. There are 4 Jordan Greenways on the screen right now, and I wouldn't have it any other way. We've got Sean there. Just Arian getting completely obscured. There was no way to edit him out, so I just completely covered him up. Dodge gets his own thumbnail with a sneaky bit of Alpha and Bylong in there to confuse you as to which one is actually Dodge. Definitely wasn't intentional. And then that's it. So we're on to the level 99s again. So yep, Atomic Flare. Anyway, I tried to, wherever possible, use the characters when they weren't Miximaxed. Sometimes I didn't have a choice, like with Bash Lancer, DRAGONLINK. Well, I wanted it for Ragnar because I had to differentiate that from the actual season finale. Mark, I couldn't use him because his Miximax had already been in a thumbnail, so I did the God Hand. Obviously, Arian's the main character, so it's fine to do that here. Yeah. Alright, so thanks for watching the thumbnail recap. Hope that was of some interest to you. I know to many people it wouldn't be. But this has been Tale of the Toaster. Thanks for watching and see you in another video.